When you are nearing your 40s and you are still hoping to fall pregnant, suddenly the big 4-0 can feel like everything's going to change now and my chances are kind of shot. And that is absolutely not true. But you need to be informed, you need to know what to do, you need to have a strategy. So in this video, I am sharing 5 questions with you to ask yourself and get the answers to, so you can figure out how much time do you really still have to try and where do you need to start to improve your chances and lengthen your fertile years. Hello lovely, my name is Inge Fleur and I am a fertility homeopath. I help couples to fall pregnant naturally worldwide through the information in the videos here on this channel and my DIY and live holistic fertility treatment programs. There are few things in this life that will make you feel less in control than trying to get pregnant and it doesn't work. When you are nearing your 40s or you're in your 40s and you're still hoping to get pregnant, the world really tells you that your chances are So what is offered to make you feel more in control? IVF, IUI, ICSI, fertility drugs. If you can make sure that you have certain levels of hormones, or you can actually put the sperm into the egg and then put them in the womb, those are all things that make you feel much more in control. But are the outcomes better? Yeah, no. Because the reality is you are not just an egg and sperm, you are not just your hormone levels. You are a human being. Surprise, surprise. That means that the way to boost your fertility is to boost your health overall. Not yours alone, also your man's, because we're talking about collective fertility. It's not just about the woman. And even if sperm test results come back poorly, it's not just about the man. Newsflash. So the true way to feel more in control of the outcome of your quote-unquote fertility journey and how much you're in control of reclaiming your fertility starts with information. You need to understand your body. You need to understand what your body is telling you. You need to be able to interpret that and then be able to take the right steps to boost your fertility, your collective fertility, your health in a holistic way. Because the reality just is that you can't put some drugs into your body and then expect that the outcome will be a baby. And does it happen? Yes, of course it happens. It is wonderful when it does. But what if it doesn't? Where does it take you? Well, the only answer is really then apparently it wasn't those drugs. But how many cycles do you want to waste focusing on tiny little elements and kind of figuring out which thing works or which doesn't? And then maybe even need to figure out, do I need to team certain elements up and then try all of those different things? Yeah, I know you don't want to do that. So how about we do a holistic approach? And in this video, we're starting with the 5 things you need to find out as quickly as possible so that you know how much time you've got left and how much you need to hit the accelerator in boosting your fertility together. Question number 1 is a relatively easy one if you have your mom, your birth mom. If you don't, it's totally fine. We can go to the next thing, but this can be the quickest, easiest fix. If you are in a relatively good relationship with your mom and you can ask her or you know when she hit menopause. Because girl, if you are 37, 38 and your mom was well into her 50s when menopause came around, that should give you, just saying this out loud actually makes me go from woo to it tells you you've got some time. As long as you're cycling, not the Dutch version, not the Tour de France version, your menstrual cycle, then you have some time. So this is definitely one of those things that I ask my patients. And if the answer is actually my mom, my grandmother, my sister, they were hitting menopause really early or were getting very irregular cycles quite early in their 40s, then you also know that this means business and that you don't have as much time to be messing around with a supplement here, supplement there, maybe try a little bit longer here, maybe do a test there. No, then you really need to go to the mattresses. Never watched that movie. Know the expression though. So question number 2 that is important for you to figure out is, do you still ovulate or do you ovulate at all? And if you are not ovulating, that doesn't mean you've already hit menopause. There are lots of reasons to not be ovulating. And the most important one is, basically the only one, is hormone imbalance. And that is also why you're not ovulating anymore when you are hitting menopause or past menopause, because you don't have the hormone balance that produces and matures the egg and has you cycling. So menopause is not the only reason for not ovulating. There can be things like PCOS, there can be hypothyroidism, there can be adrenal stress and fatigue, and it can just be something simple like moving, for example, changing jobs. That can alone cause you to not ovulate. But if you're not ovulating, that is kind of a big deal, and you're going to want to figure out why you're not ovulating. And if you are ovulating, you want to know, are you ovulating timely? If you're ovulating late in your cycle, that is not necessarily an issue for your fertility, but it does say something about the fact that your hormones are on the lower side. So it's a bit of an alarm bell. If you're ovulating really early, that means that you're struggling with estrogen dominance. And when you're ovulating early, that means the egg is not maturing properly and it's almost impossible for you to fall pregnant. That means you need to start working on the causes of ovulating early, and that is estrogen dominance. And estrogen dominance is something that is really common for women to have as we age, just by getting older. That's what happens. And then there are so many other factors that contribute to it, like the plastics we're exposed to, having lots of stress, and having other hormones be low, which allows our body to be estrogen dominant, long-term birth control use. So if you are ovulating is an important question to get an answer to, and the way that you can find that out is through charting. I have a free course that you can access, and that is your very first step if you are not ovulating yet. And then there is my course, the clues in your charts. I'm currently doing a live round, but you can also access the DIY version. There are modules on there that help you discover if your charts are ideal or not. And that is actually question number 3 I need you to get an answer to. And that is my cycle currently ideal? So if you're not ovulating, you already know that your cycle is not ideal to be falling pregnant, or if you're ovulating very early or very late. But there are other things that you can look into. For example, your period. We're going to want you to have a 4-day period-ish. If it's much shorter and it's very light, it means that it is harder for an embryo to implant because you're not going to have a very lush lining. You're going to want to know if the second half of your cycle is long enough for you to hold on to a pregnancy, if there is an embryo at all. And there are so many things that you can actually see from your charts that will tell you not just if there's a hormone imbalance that you want to address, but also if you are nearing menopause. And even if you are nearing menopause, it doesn't mean you're not fertile anymore. It's not like a switch is flipped one day and one moment you're fertile and you can have babies and the next you can't. It's gradual, and you'll be able to pick it up in your chart. If you're not charting, you'll probably discover at some point that your cycles are becoming irregular, or suddenly you're having much heavier periods or much lighter and things are changing a bit. But if you're charting, you're going to pick up on these small changes that tell you you're nearing menopause much earlier. You're going to notice that, hey, my luteal phase has been 1 day shorter for a couple of months now. Or you will notice that, hey, actually day 4 of my period is now more spotting than it was a full flow. You might notice you're ovulating a little bit earlier. But not only that, you can also spot in your charts if FSH is going up. FSH is follicle stimulating hormone, and this is the hormone that matures the eggs in your ovaries. Now, if there are less eggs or the eggs are not responding as well, your body is going to try and compensate by bringing up the levels of FSH. And this is why if you see in your blood test that FSH is higher, your doctors will say, oh no, you are nearing menopause, because it just means your body needs to work harder to mature those eggs. But guess what? Does that mean you are not maturing an egg? No, it does not. Your body's actually trying to lengthen your fertile years by cracking up the levels of FSH. But if you can spot in your charts that FSH is going up, then again, it's an alarm bell to you, like, I'm kind of running out of time. Maybe I need to bring in the big guns, like homeopathy. How ironic to call homeopathy the big guns. You can start charting today and have this information next cycle. honestly. I'm currently running my life program, The Clues in Your Charts, and while we've already been going at it for a bit, so the doors are not open to the live version, you can access the DIY version. But what I want to tell you is that I have lovelies on this program that haven't been charting up until starting this program, but they are discovering each session what is going on with their hormone imbalance as they're going through the first steps of charting and going through the modules on early menopause or just menopause, low hormones, estrogen dominance, low progesterone, inflammation, PCOS, and adrenal stress and hypothyroidism, because these are all the patterns that you can see in your chart, which means that a lot of women that came to this program thinking they were hitting menopause are actually just dealing with low overall hormones or just with hypothyroidism. And some, yes, they will discover that in fact they are nearing menopause, but it just again means they need to hit the accelerator on a couple of measures to boost their fertility while they are in their fertile years, and to do something about lengthening those fertile years and boosting their collective fertility. Of course, what you can also do, which is relevant to do, is you can get your blood tests done. So you're going to want to get tests run for estrogen, for progesterone, LH, FSH, and AMH. I have to add to this that the results of these blood tests don't say everything. Hormone levels do change. Poor overall hormone levels does not mean you're in menopause or hitting menopause. You need to be able to understand what the blood panel is telling you and not just the conclusion that your doctor is going to give you. But of course, if your AMA levels aren't ideal, your FSH is very high, your estrogen might initially be very high, and later on, if you're closer to menopause, lower, then those could be signs that indeed you are nearing menopause. And again, you have to hit the accelerator. The last thing you need to ask yourself and your partner is, how much are you on board with this? And it might be a bit of a heavy question, but my experience is that sometimes the women that come to me, they're very much on board. They have everything. They want to give everything to falling pregnant naturally. They want to work on their bodies. They want to give themselves the right nutrition and understand what's going on. And they realize that their time is running out, but their partners aren't on board. And if that's the case, it doesn't mean that all is lost, but you need to adjust your expectations, because again, we're talking about your collective fertility. And while age does not affect men as much, it does affect it, but does not affect their fertility as much as for women. It does impact your collective fertility if your guy is not on board, or if you are half-assing it. Let me just put it that way. Hey, if you're interested in what blood test to get, I will link that video in for you right here. And in the meantime, see you in the next video. Bye, lovely.